Hello, I'm the Painter Guy, and yes, this video was made to trigger the ones of you who think that green army men are not really miniatures and that they're inferior in quality and you shouldn't practice with them. You're right. You're absolutely right. I'm gonna paint them anyway. Right. Oh. In the end, I managed it. After priming the miniature black, I'm spraying white ink at the miniature. From the back. It's not a zenithal. A zenithal would be from the top. I'm establishing a backlight. In movies it is pretty common to use backlight to make the shot more interesting and epic. Also, I try to avoid filming in the middle of a day at all costs, because when the sun shines bright from directly above, it usually doesn't look good. So why are you always using a zenithal and not some other light scheme? I think light schemes are more important than color schemes, because they make the miniature more interesting in a way more fundamental way than color schemes do. With this miniature I'm aiming for one large bright area in the back and one large dark area in the front. By doing this you won't get the micro contrast and really regular blends you normally would. But you will get one thing. It is called realism. As I'm not doing a black and white paint job, I will also need a color scheme. I'm using a cohesive color scheme between yellow and blue, with red being the only outlier to draw focus. More on that later. I mixed myself green for the clothes, blue for the metal, brown for the boots and stuff, and a reddish orange for the skin. I used black and brown to create a unique desaturated shadow. I used yellow and white to create a unique desaturated highlight. The uniform highlights and shadows really pull a miniature together. Even if the color scheme maybe doesn't work out all the way you want it to, it will be all mended and fused together to feel like one cohesive miniature. With both light and color scheme set, painting the miniature was pretty straightforward in the beginning. Just putting the color where it belongs. I didn't focus on doing smooth blends. I wanted to embrace the light scheme. And having the light scheme right helps later much more than having smooth blends that you may need to adjust anyway. Look how I'm using the brush strokes. This is not sped up. This is real time. I am painting this fast. I'm creating texture with these dotting techniques, but it can't be really explained. You need to look and pay attention. Then you will understand. This worked really well for the clothes, boots and skin. But as soon as I started to blend the steel parts on the weapon, I got a bit too much into detail, lost the grip on the light scheme, got confused and because of it, stopped painting. I didn't really got back into it until I noticed that I just recorded a video about this issue. What I said there was, if you focus on too many things at once, it's completely normal that you got overwhelmed. So stop thinking about everything and start thinking about one thing. So I stopped thinking about smoothness, about blending, and even a bit about the light scheme and just painted in the areas with the colors I wanted to paint in to get the composition right, and then go back to the light scheme. This helped me to get back into the painting without overthinking everything. And when you don't overthink things, you're more likely to change things when they just look outright bad. Like the stripes on its chest. This yellow doesn't fit. I painted over blue. The best thing is that I could use transparent blue, so I didn't need to adjust the blend. I could leave the blend as is, paint my transparent blue over it, keep the values, change the color, and get it a bit greenish in the highlights. Between adding glazes, painting a few details, and wrapping the paint job up, there was one thing left to do, finishing up the face. And I gotta say, this face detail is abysmal. Now I know why you don't paint Green Army Man. I started with adding red glazes to the skin to pull attention towards it. As everything else is between yellow and blue, the red is complementary to it, so it grabs your eye. Speaking of eyes, I continued with darkening the eye holes. Then I painted them bright, but not white, and added pupils, and then reflective lights. One eye looked absolutely great. I nailed it. The other one, well, it looked awful. So I grabbed my red again and painted it over like his eyeball was shot out. This one saved it. With a final look at the palette, we are finished. Right? No. Plinth time. I wanted the plinth to look dirty, so I took some ground coffee and some dirt and put it in there. I let it sit, added some raw umber ink, more raw umber ink, a bit of dirt, took it out again and let it dry. When it was dry, I removed the excess to leave a thin layer of dirt and stain. After this, I added even more raw umber ink to get this nice wooden color. To fix everything into place, I first added a bit of clear wood stain and then some thinned down PVA glue. After letting it dry, I decided to add another layer of dirt just on the top to make up the earth I will use as the base for my basing. Then I decided to add the miniature. Well, the miniature survived it, I guess. Holy shit. Did I learn from this? No. Try it out again. Took me too long to paint this miniature. In the end, I managed it. I decided to add grass on top of the earth. In my video about making swamp bases, I promised I would explain to you how I made grass tufts. It is essentially like this. You add PVA glue, static grass, isopropyl alcohol, thinned down PVA glue, static grass, isopropyl alcohol, thinned down PVA glue, more static grass, and more thinned down PVA glue. Of course, you need a static grass applicator for this. I wanted to make a tutorial about how I built mine once, but I already built it, and the guys who make the key component for it already made a good job explaining it. Link in the description. Since I already had the light scheme in place, it was only natural to paint a drop shadow onto the grass. By seeing the final miniature from all four sides, you must agree, you can paint Green Army Men great. Even if they're bad, and if you have bad tools, your ideas and your skill and your execution will make up so much. You can achieve good results with bad tools, but you can't achieve good results with bad skill. Anyway, good tools are important, especially good paint, and you definitely will want to watch this video about the paint I am using. I really got you almost there.